Yo, what's going on people, and welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to break down a sample that is in the style of Alhug and like the polyphonic music library. Before we get into this breakdown, don't forget to comment down below and leave a like. Let me know what you want to see in the future, any ideas that you might have. So let's get straight into it. So for the start, I just started off with this piano. It was the Wing Upright Mono Indie from Omnisphere, and it sounds like this. So firstly, let's break down the chords. The chords are pretty simple, so I've just added little markers here. So the first chord here, that's just a B minor ninth, and I've just inverted some, so it just comes down. So the F gone down, the C's gone to the highest point just for extra voicing. Then again a B minor seventh, just inverted it. Then here, a D major seventh, just to give it some high resonance, so it go up and it just gives it a nice tone. And then I've just ended it with an A major, and it sort of repeats itself throughout the whole of this sample. Here I've just added another, I think it was an A major, and I've just used it as a strumming effect, higher resonance, higher voices, just to give it that nice, like, just joining into the other chord. And as you can see here at the end, just wanted to just give it that tension and build that resolution up. So I just added this C dominant seventh because it just gives a nice feed back into the chords on the 8th bar. First thing I wanted to do to add it run through tape saturation, just give it that warm fuzz. Then I've used this like Rode Chambers, like, I'm not sure what it is, like a reverb slash delay, but it gives it a nice tone to it. So I've just messed with the feedback on here and just cut out little bits that I didn't like. I've used the stone reverb type because it felt like it gave it a nice like room feel. And then obviously as usual, just EQ'd normal how I would. The second thing I added was this bass, just to go with the main chords and just build like a nice little riff. So it sounds like this. And to be honest, I've just left that dry. I didn't add any effects to it whatsoever. I felt like it was just fine how it was. Next, I've added this music box bell that sounds like this. It just gives it that nice tone and texture on top of the piano and the bass. So I've used the reels again. Then this valve compressor, but I've took the output down a little bit just to reduce the noise, because sometimes I feel like it just gives a little bit too much. And then I've used this 1/8 ping pong delay just to give it a nice variation. Then EQ and reverb as usual. So after that, I've just wanted to give it a nice cool tone and texture just to spice it up a little bit. So I've used this guitar that sounds like this. For this, I've used the Delicious Wah by Evolution Stratosphere. It's a nice preset, it gives it a nice cool tone, texture. And here are the chords. The chords are pretty similar, just playing on the same chords that they were, just giving that nice rhythm. And I like to have each chord a little bit off grid, just to give it a natural guitar rhythm. Again, for this, I've used the Nuggets guitar preset on the Rode Chambers, just to give it that nice core, like, room reverb, and just gives it a nice saturation feel as well. And then after that, I've used a virtual mix rack. I use this electric guitar preset, but then I've just messed with the highs and the lows, just to make it a little bit more tight and just compress it nice and well. And then I'll just run it through more tape, and then this plexi tape, just to give it a nice cool delay. It just gives it a nice effect on top of the like piano, bounces off very well. First two bars, I had this like Mellotron sound just to give it a different variation. It just fits in nice and perfect. And then as you can see here, same sort of chords, just use that nice strumming effect, and I'll show you how I use the delay on this. And then I've used this preamp just to bring up the warmth and just really let that instrument shine through. And then I put it through tape again, and I'll show you how I use this delay. So I've got this like just this single delay, and at the end here you can see that I've automated it. So this strummed effect just plays out a little bit longer, just gives it a nice cool texture and like feel and rhythm. Next, in the like the 5th to 8th bar, I've just added this flute that just goes down, just gives it a nice cool feel. Every instrument that I'm sort of adding here is just giving it a new element and just like new feel and vibe to the whole thing. And for the flute here, you see I just EQ'd a little bit out. I didn't need to put anything. I liked it like nice and dry. Then for the first half of the sample, I really wanted something to catch the listener, just to build with that guitar nice. So I've used these vocals of mine. I've like layer stacked them, and I'll show you each individual one. One's just like the natural tone of my voice, one's a higher pitch, and one's a little bit of a lower pitch, just to fit together nice and tight and just give that nice cool like choir sound. So I've used this plate reverb on it to just give it a nice tight reverb. It didn't have to be too crazy. The mix is quite low. EQ'd out just frequencies that I felt like were too much. Then I've used this parallel compressor just to make it a little bit more tighter in the volume. Then I've routed the whole of the vocals into a tape, and it sort of just gives it that nice core and like saturation to it. Just brings out the vocals very well. Last half of the sample, I've used these strings by LA Scoring. Same thing, sticking to the same idea of just making it nice and just compact. Everything's off the little bit of the grid again, just to give that natural feel. And with that, I've just put the smallest reverb, and that was it. Just brought it hella down in the mix and made it a little bit more mono, just to give that mono reverb, just feels better. Next, I've added these drums. So the ones down here are hi-hats. This is like a ride, like a cymbal. And then here we've got tambourines. And then I think this is like toms sort of thing. They're just bouncing off each other with all different velocities. And then for this, I've just brought the drums into a preamp, and it's just sort of made the drums seem tighter, more natural, and just makes them stand out a little bit more. After that, I've run them through this cassette, the lo-fi drums, and just turn the stack down. And then I've used this chroma tape, and I feel like it just brings them to life a little bit more. That's the only reason I use it. And the last texture that I use is this glockenspiel, and it's just like a nice riff off into the normal chords that just don't go too crazy. Then I've used this plexi tape, just gives it a nice delay. I sort of turned the delay down a little bit, it was too much, but it just gives that, especially at that riff into the second half of the sample, just gives it a nice bounce and rhythm. And then I've just took out little frequencies that I didn't like. Then once I've got the sample, once I've got the sample down, and then once I got the sample exported, I've pitched it down by 3 just to give it a lower tone. I just thought it'd sound better. Then I've put this virtual mix rack on the sample, and I've just boosted 1.6k, took out like 3k, and just boosted a little bit of the bass. And then that just gives it a little bit more brightness, just gives it a little bit boost in volume. It just sounds very nice. Textures come out perfect, everything's layered perfectly together. So yeah, you know what to do, people. Leave a like down below, comment any ideas that you want me to do. I will cover them if I really like the idea. Follow my Instagram, that's going to be on the screen, and I'll see you in the next one, people.